This video is going to be a little bit different. It's kind of one of my first of its type. Right around the middle of October, I started doing quite a bit more exercises, a lot more squats, and tried to get leg strength and a lot more upper body stuff. And one day I noticed after my Monday workout that I had a little bit of pain in my groin area, and I thought it was just a groin pull or a strain, which I've done that before. I went out for a walk that day. I was able to get through the walk, but it hurt to push off of my left leg. The next day, it kind of went away, so I didn't really think much of it. And then a week after that, I happened to notice there was a bulge that was just under my waistline on my pelvis, slightly to the left side. And of course, when you start Googling stuff, you know how Google tells you it's always cancer. So I got a little bit scared and started doing some research. ChatGPT actually helped me out quite a bit on this when I plugged in my symptoms. It identified it right away as an inguinal hernia. Specifically, it said a small reducible inguinal hernia. So, of course, I can't just go by what Dr. ChatGPT says. I've got to go see my PCM. And doctor said, yep, looks like exactly what you thought. Just think of it as seams in your muscles. And then if you breathe deep and you push out while you're breathing, like maybe you sneeze and you hold your breath like I do sometimes, or you're doing squats like it was probably my case. And then when you push too much, something pushes through that muscle, or the seams or the weak spots in the muscle. And my case, I don't know if it's fat that's pushing through, I don't know if it's intestine that's pushing through, but something was pushing through. My PCM made an appointment for me, or got a referral for me to go see a general surgeon. And the PCM didn't actually do any ultrasound or anything like that. Went to the general surgeon. General surgeon, as soon as they saw it, immediately noticed what it was. So they didn't even do an ultrasound. They scheduled me for surgery. So tomorrow, I'm having that surgery. We are about 28 hours away from my inguinal hernia surgery. Now, this one is going to be what's called a robotic-assisted laparoscopic mesh repair. I'm going to try to just document my journey. I'm going to let you know what my restrictions are when it happens, how I feel afterwards, in hopes that, when somebody else is going through this surgery, they can always look back on this video and at least see my experience. Of course, like I said, I'm not a doctor. This is just my experience. Okay, so this inguinal hernia wasn't really too much of a concern for me initially. I didn't really notice it during that week before I saw the bulge, and when I felt that pain in my groin, it didn't really impact my daily life up to that point. So why am I getting it fixed? It was impacting my ability to feel comfortable doing certain lifting actions. I like to do squats. I like to do weighted squats, Bulgarian split squats. There's things that I still wanted to do, but I felt a little bit reserved when I did them, because after I would do things, anything that would require me to hold my breath and hold air in and then push out, I actually started feeling a little bit of pressure down in that area after a workout. So I felt like I was probably hurting or making it worse, or there's a potential to make it worse. And also, these inguinal hernias do not repair themselves. They don't just go away. It is not like a muscle strain. It is actually in between the muscle. The problem is the parts where the muscles come together. So why am I going with the mesh surgery specifically? The mesh surgery has a higher chance of success, or I should say a lower chance of failure. Just stitching it up in a certain percentage, they are re-injured later in life. And the mesh provides, so if you think about this being the muscle, and the mesh goes behind, if you think about concrete, the concrete being your own repair, your own body's ability to repair the defect, and then the mesh just sort of adds that rebar to it. As far as the robotic assisted, I'm obviously not against robots. I drive a self-driving car, so I believe that in many, many cases, robots or things that are assisted by robots can make things better. In this case, they can visualize things better. They can better precisely put the mesh in its place. There's better progress or better recovery because there's not as much damage being done. There's not a large cut, so it's laparoscopic, so there's just tools that go in. I have changed my behavior since learning about the hernia and learning what causes it. So I basically learned how to sneeze again. That's a weird one. I used to hold in my sneezes. That's a no-go. I've learned how to breathe when I do exercise. For the exercise piece, whenever you're on a squat, you breathe in on the way down and then blow out on the way up. It's holding that breath in while you're doing the exercise portion. That's the problem. So if you let it out like that when you're doing the exercise portion, then you're much less likely to have a hernia issue. And so ever since discovering I had the hernia, I have stopped holding my breath when I do exercise. It's pretty noisy. And when you think about it, at the gym, that's actually frowned upon to make a lot of noise, but they're doing it for a reason. So ChatGPT's estimate is about 100 to 200,000 robotic-assisted hernia surgeries per year in the US. So there's plenty of data. They've been doing it for a very long time. I'm not concerned. Yeah, so they said they're going to be keeping me overnight. And I'll give you an update on the details later.